The toilet was 12 feet off the ground. Danny Reeves stood in the cargo hold of his newly purchased spaceship, neck craned back, staring at the bathroom fixture mounted near the ceiling. He had spent his entire lottery winnings on this ship. 50,000 galactic credits. Every last one. And now he was realizing that whoever built this thing was apparently the size of a house. Great choice, Danny, he muttered to himself. Real smart. He had won some kind of galactic diversity lottery 3 months ago. Earth had just made first contact with the wider universe, and apparently every human on the planet had been automatically entered into a welcome program. Danny had been fixing trucks in Nevada when the notification came through. He figured it was a scam until government agents showed up at his garage. Now here he was. Deep space. Alone. Owner of a ship he could barely navigate. The shadow fell over him before he heard the footsteps. Danny turned around slowly. 3 figures blocked the airlock behind him. They were massive. The smallest one had to be nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin was blue-gray like storm clouds. The one in front had 4 arms crossed over a chest covered in armor that looked like it had seen actual combat that Danny's translator was still calibrating. He heard clicks and deep rumbling sounds that might have been words. He said. E. The lead figure spoke again. More clicks. More rumbles. Then the translator finally kicked in, and Danny heard the tail end of her sentence. And so you're now her husband, small one. You will be cherished. Danny blinked. I'm sorry, what? The figure on the left, slightly leaner with glowing freckles across her cheeks, tilted her head. The translator may be malfunctioning. Sister, repeat the declaration. The armored one nodded. She had a face like carved stone, and eyes that looked at Danny like he was something precious and breakable. I am Sarah Vaughn. These are my sisters, Nyla and Brix. You have purchased the vessel of our deceased husband. By the ancient law of our people, you have inherited his marital obligations. You are now husband to the 3 of us. Danny waited for the punchline that IT did not come. That's not how buying things works, he said carefully. It is how Corvani law works, Syrah said. We have been waiting 15 years for a replacement husband. The moment you finalized ownership of this vessel, the claim triggered. You are ours. I'm not anybody's, Danny said, taking a step backward. His back hit the wall. Look, there's been some kind of mistake. I'm human. I'm from Earth. We don't do whatever this is. The third one, Brix, grinned. She was the youngest looking, with a scar running down one cheek and mischief in her eyes. He is so small, and he makes such interesting faces when he is confused. I'm not confused, Danny said. I am refusing. I refuse. This isn't happening. Syrah's expression did not change. Your refusal is noted. It is also irrelevant. Under Corvani law, the claim is absolute. You may file a protest with the Galactic Council, but the processing time is approximately 40 years. 40 years. They are very busy, Nyla said sympathetically. She had pulled out some kind of scanning device and was pointing it at Danny. Fascinating. His bone density is remarkable, and his muscle structure is quite efficient for such a small frame. Please stop scanning me. I'm a scientist. This is merely observation. Danny looked between the 3 of them. Syrah stood like a wall between him and the airlock. Nyla was still scanning him with academic interest. Brix was circling around to his left, cutting off any escape route toward the deeper parts of the ship. Okay, Danny said, raising his hands. Let's all just calm down. I'm sure we can work something out. Some kind of trade, maybe. I'll give you the ship back. You can have it. I don't even want it anymore. The ship is no longer relevant, Syrah said. The claim has transferred to you. Even if we destroyed this vessel, you would remain our husband. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. You simply do not understand Corvani culture yet. Syrah's voice softened slightly. We are not here to harm you, small one. We are here to protect you, to provide for you, to love you. This is what wives do. I don't need protection, Danny said. I don't need providing. I definitely don't need 3 giant alien women deciding they're married to me without asking first. Brix moved faster than something her size had any right to move. One moment she was 3 meters away. The next, Danny was tucked under her arm like a rolled carpet. His feet dangled uselessly above the deck. He is so light, Brix said happily. Can I keep carrying him? Put me down. No, you might run. And then we would have to chase you. And that would make Cyril worry about your stress levels. Danny struggled uselessly against the arm that might as well have been a steel beam. This is kidnapping. This is marriage, Cyril corrected calmly. You will adjust. The airlock sealed behind them. Danny heard the engines hum to life. Through a viewport, he watched the station where he had purchased this nightmare begin to shrink. Where are we going? He demanded. Cyril looked back at him with something that might have been fondness. Home, little husband. We're taking you home. Danny let his head drop against Brix's armored side. He had wanted adventure. He had wanted to see the galaxy. He had wanted something more than fixing trucks in the Nevada heat. This was not what he had in mind. Something was breathing on his face. Danny opened his eyes and found himself staring directly into Nyla's glowing freckles. She was approximately 6 inches away, watching him with the intensity of someone studying a very interesting bug. He screamed. Nyla did not move. Fascinating. The human fear response involves such vigorous vocalization. Danny scrambled backward and promptly fell into something soft. He was lying in what could only be described as a nest. Furs and cushions surrounded him in a space the size of a swimming pool. The ceiling was far above. The walls were covered in strange weapons and stranger artwork, and 3 giant women were watching him sleep. Good morning, little husband, Cirrus said from her position by the door. Her 4 arms were folded, and she looked like she had been standing guard all night. You slept for 14 hours. We were concerned. You were watching me sleep? Of course. You are a husband. We must ensure your safety. Danny pressed his palms against his eyes and tried to convince himself this was a dream. It did not work. When he opened his eyes, the 3 Corvani women were still there. Still enormous. Still claiming he belonged to them. Look, he said carefully. I appreciate that you think you're doing something nice here. But I didn't agree to this. Where I come from, marriage requires consent from both parties. Brix tilted her head. Both parties did consent. We consented when we registered our claim. You consented when you purchased the vessel. I didn't know purchasing the vessel meant anything like this. Ignorance of the law is not a defense, Cirrus said. This is true in all civilizations. Danny stood up. The nest was so soft that he sank to his ankles and had to wade toward the edge. Fine. Then I want to leave. Drop me off at the nearest station. I'll find my own way home. The sisters exchanged looks that Danny was beginning to recognize. It was the look of adults watching a child say something adorably stupid. You cannot leave, Nyla explained gently. We are already in hyperspace. The journey to our home world takes 6 weeks. There are no stops. 6 weeks. It is not so long. We have much to teach you about Corvani culture. By the time we arrive, you will understand why this is an honor. Danny spotted a door on the far side of the room. He moved toward it as casually as he could manage. Right, an honor. Being kidnapped by aliens. Every guy's dream. He lunged for the door. Syrah caught him in 4 seconds. She did not even appear to hurry. One moment he was reaching for the handle. The next, her arms had wrapped around him and lifted him off the ground with no more effort than picking up a pillow. You are quick for someone so small, she observed. But you must not run. You could hurt yourself. I'm not going to hurt myself by running. You might trip. The ship has uneven flooring in the maintenance corridors. Danny went limp in her grip. Fighting was pointless. These women were built like tanks and moved like predators. He was a mechanic from Nevada who had never won a fight in his life. Cirrus set him down gently and kept one hand on his shoulder. Let's explain why males are so precious to our people. Perhaps then you will understand. Nyla stepped forward eagerly. The Corvani evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme predator density. Males were born smaller and less physically durable. To ensure species survival, females became protectors. Over time, males became rare. Only 1 in 50 births produces a male child. That's... Danny paused. Actually really sad. It is our way, Brick said with a shrug. Males are treasured, protected, kept safe by their wives. When our previous husband died, we waited 15 years for a replacement. Do you understand how long that is? How lonely? Danny felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. He pushed it down. I'm sorry you lost someone. Really? But I'm not Corvani. I'm human. I don't need protection. Sierra's expression hardened. You come from Earth. We have studied your world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, predators on every continent, venomous creatures, diseases that adapt and evolve. Your planet is what we call a death world. So you're even more durable than our males. Your bones are denser. Your immune system is aggressive. You can survive injuries that would kill a Corvani male instantly. Sierra leaned down until her face was level with his. You are not fragile, little husband, but you are still precious, and we will still protect you. This is not negotiable. Danny stared up at her. She meant every word. All three of them did. They genuinely believed they were doing something good by claiming him, that they were offering him a gift. He was not sure how to feel about that. I want to go home, he said quietly. I want to go back to Earth. Nyla's face fell. Brix looked away. Sierra's jaw tightened. We cannot take you to Earth, Sierra said. The claim is registered. If we release you, another clan will simply claim you instead. You would still be a husband, just not ours. There has to be some way out of this. There is not. Sierra straightened. But perhaps in time, you will stop wanting one. Danny had no response to that. He sat down on the edge of the nest and stared at the floor while three giant women watched him with eyes full of hope and patience and something that looked terrifyingly like love point 6 weeks. He had 6 weeks to figure out how to escape. He just hoped that would be enough. The food synthesizer was making sounds that no machine should ever make. Danny stood on a crate he had dragged from storage, peering into the open panel while something inside sparked and groaned. Day 8 of his captivity, and he had finally found something useful to do. The sisters' meals had been edible in the loosest sense of the word. Gray paste, brown paste, something purple that moved when he poked it. What are you doing? Sierra's voice came from directly behind him. Danny did not jump. He was getting used to the way these women appeared out of nowhere. Fixing your food machine. It's been miscalibrated for years. Males do not repair machinery. This male does. He reached deeper into the panel, found the loose connection, and twisted it back into place. I've been a mechanic since I was 16. If I see something broken, I fix it. Sierra moved closer. Her shadow covered him completely. Our previous husband never touched machines. Males create art, music, poetry. They do not do dangerous work. Well, I can't paint and I can't sing, so you're stuck with what you've got. Danny reconnected the power supply and climbed down from the crate. The synthesizer hummed to life with a healthy sound instead of its previous death rattle. He punched in a request for basic protein and vegetables, something his human digestive system could actually handle. The machine produced a plate that looked like real food. It smelled like real food. Danny took a bite and nearly cried. It works, he said. Finally, actual food. Brix wandered in, drawn by the smell. She stared at the plate in Danny's hands. What is that? Dinner. Want some? He handed her the plate. She took a cautious bite, and her eyes went wide. This is good. This is really good. I have not had good food since we left the homeworld. The machine was just calibrated wrong. Probably happened when your previous husband died, and nobody thought to check the settings. Brix took another bite, then another. Then she looked at Danny with an expression he had never seen on her face before. Something serious. Something intense. I'm going to bury your children, she said. Danny choked on nothing. What? This food. You made this food. You fixed the machine. I'm going to bury your children. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Nyla entered the room, attracted by the commotion. Brix shoved the plate at her. Taste this. The husband made it. Nyla took a bite. Her bioluminescent freckles began to glow brighter. Remarkable. The flavor profile is completely different. Danny, how did you accomplish this? I fixed the synthesizer. It's not complicated. All three sisters were staring at him now. Sierra had moved to examine the open panel, her forearms tracing the modifications he had made. You did this yourself, she said slowly. With your own hands. Yes. Were you not afraid? Danny laughed. Afraid of what? It's a food machine. The worst it could do is shock me a little. The sisters exchanged one of their looks. The one that meant they were having a conversation, Danny, was not included in. Our previous husband would never have touched this machine, Cirrus said finally. If it broke, we would call a repair service. Males do not risk themselves. I told you, I'm not Corvani. Where I come from, everybody fixes things. Everybody works. Even males. There's no difference. Men, women, everyone pulls their weight. Danny shrugged. I started working when I was 14. Full-time by 16. 60-hour weeks by 20. The silence that followed was uncomfortable. All three women had gone very still. Your previous wives allowed this? Nyla asked quietly. I don't have previous wives. I've never been married. Your mothers, then? Your sisters. The females responsible for your care. My mom worked 2 jobs. My sister lives in another state. Nobody was responsible for my care except me. Syrah made a sound that Danny had never heard before. It was low and dangerous, like the growl of something predatory. You were forced to labor as a child. Without protection. Without guidance. Without anyone to ensure your safety. It wasn't like that. It was just normal life. It was abuse. Danny opened his mouth to argue and stopped. The look on Syrah's face was not anger directed at him. It was anger directed at everyone who had ever let him struggle alone. At a society that expected him to take care of himself when he was barely old enough to drive. No one will ever treat you that way again, Syrah said. Her voice was a promise and a threat wrapped together. You are ours now. You will never work 60 hours again. You will never go hungry. You will never be unprotected. I don't need. Yes, you do. Syrah stepped closer, and her hand settled on his shoulder with surprising gentleness. You have simply never known what it feels like to be cared for. We will teach you. Danny wanted to argue. He wanted to insist that he was fine, that he had always been fine, that he did not need 3 giant alien women fussing over him. But something in his chest felt tight. Something that had been tight for so long he had forgotten it could feel any other way. The food machine still needs a full diagnostic, he said roughly. I should finish that. Syrah nodded. We will watch. To ensure you do not injure yourself. I'm not going to injure myself. We will watch anyway. Danny turned back to the machine. Behind him, 3 pairs of eyes followed his every movement. Protective, attentive, completely overwhelming that he was starting to understand why Corvani males let themselves be kept. The explosion shook Danny out of a dead sleep. He hit the floor of the nest, tangled in furs, heart pounding. Red lights flashed overhead. An alarm screamed in a language he did not understand. Through the viewport, he saw ships, dozens of them, surrounding the vessel like wolves around a wounded deer. Syrah was already moving. Her armor materialized around her body in pieces that seemed to fly from hidden compartments. Her face had transformed into something cold and terrifying. Pirates, she said. Stay here. What's happening? They detected a male biosignature. They want you. Brix appeared in the doorway, grinning with too many teeth. Rival clan. They think they can take what is ours. Danny's stomach dropped. Take me? What happens if they take me? Syrah's 4 hands closed into fists. They will not take you. This I swear on my blood and my bones. Nyla entered last. She was carrying equipment that Danny had assumed was scientific instruments. Now he could see the weapons built into every piece. Panic room, she said to Danny. 3rd door on the left. Lock yourself inside and do not open it for anyone except us. But go. Now. Syrah's voice left no room for argument. We will come for you when it is done. Danny ran. The panic room was small and reinforced, with monitors covering every wall. He sealed the door and watched as the screens flickered to life, showing feeds from all over the ship. The pirates were boarding. They came through the airlock in waves, gray-blue giants in mismatched armor, carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. The sisters met them at the threshold. Danny had known his wives were big. He had known they were strong. He had watched Syrah catch him without effort, watched Brix lift him like he weighed nothing, watched Nyla handle heavy equipment with casual ease. He had not understood what they truly were. Syrah hit the first wave of pirates like a meteor striking a planet. Her 4 arms moved in patterns too fast to follow. Bodies flew. Armor crumpled. The sounds coming through the speakers were wet and terrible. Brix fought with joy, laughing as she danced through enemies twice her size. She had knives in all her hands and blood on her face, and she was beautiful in a way that made Danny's heart stop. Nyla stood behind her sisters and fired weapons that turned pirates to ash. Her face was calm, clinical. She was not a warrior. She was an executioner. The pirates kept coming. 1 ship, 2 ships, 5. They poured through breaches in the hull, and the sisters killed them all. Syrah fought with brutal efficiency. Brix fought with terrible glee. Nyla fought with cold precision. Danny watched the numbers on his screen. 17 enemy ships. 0 survivors. IT took less than an hour. When the silence came, it was deafening. The screen showed empty corridors filled with bodies. The alarms had stopped. The only movement was his 3 wives, walking calmly through the carnage, checking pulses to confirm their kills. The panic room door beeped. Danny hesitated, then checked the camera. Syrah stood outside, covered in blood that was not her own, that he opened the door. "Are you hurt?" Syrah asked immediately. Her hands ran over him, checking for injuries. "Did you eat while we were fighting? You look pale. You should eat something." "I'm Fina. Are you okay?" There were so many of them. Syrah's expression shifted to confusion. "They were thieves who sought to steal our husband. They were nothing." Brix bounded around the corner, still grinning. "Danny, did you watch? Did you see how many I killed? I counted 37. Personal record. That's a lot." Nyla appeared last, wiping something unpleasant from her equipment. "The ship sustained minor damage. We will need to stop for repairs, but we should reach the homeworld on schedule." She looked at Danny and frowned. "Your heart rate is elevated. Are you frightened?" Danny thought about the question. Was he frightened? He had just watched 3 women tear through an army of pirates without breaking sweat. He had watched them kill with the casual efficiency of predators born for violence, but they had done it for him. Every pirate, every ship, every drop of blood had been shed because someone threatened to take him away. "Not of you," he said finally. "I'm not frightened of you." Something softened in Syrah's eyes. "Good. You should never fear us. We are your wives. We exist to protect you." But those pirates made a fatal error. Syrah's voice was cold. "They thought they could take what belongs to us. They learned otherwise." Brix draped herself over Danny's shoulders, ignoring the blood on her armor. "You are our little husband, our precious treasure. Anyone who tries to steal you will die screaming." Danny should have been horrified. He should have been terrified by the casual violence these women were capable of. Instead, he felt something strange, something warm. Nobody had ever protected him like this. Nobody had ever fought for him. Nobody had ever looked at a threat to his safety and simply eliminated it without hesitation or remorse. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for keeping me safe." The sisters went still. Then Nyla smiled, and Brix squeezed him tighter, and Syrah made that low rumbling sound that Danny was beginning to recognize as contentment. "Always," Syrah said. "This is what wives do." Danny let himself be led back to the nest. He was surrounded by giants covered in blood, walking through a ship full of corpses, heading toward a planet he had never seen. And for the first time since this nightmare began, he felt safe. Every eye in the city was staring at him. Danny stepped off the ship and onto Corvani soil for the first time. The world was beautiful in a harsh way, with red skies and black mountains and buildings that stretched toward the clouds. But he barely noticed any of it because every single person on the landing platform had stopped moving to look at him. They were all female, all massive, and they were looking at Danny like he was made of gold. "Walk close to us," Syrah murmured. "Do not make eye contact with anyone." "Why?" "Because they will take it as an invitation." Danny stuck close to his wives. The registration office was worse. News had spread that the Vaughn sisters were bringing a male home. The building was surrounded by crowds pressing against barriers, trying to catch a glimpse of him. Guards in heavy armor held them back. "This is insane," Danny whispered. Brix laughed. "You are the first new male our region has seen in 12 years. They are curious." The paperwork took hours. Danny was poked, prodded, scanned, and documented. He was officially registered as the husband of the Vaughn clan, property of 3 females, No longer a free being under Corvani law, he tried not to think about that too hard. The Vaughn estate was enormous. Danny had his own quarters, his own workshop, and access to technology he had only dreamed about. The sisters gave him space while remaining within shouting distance at all times. The IT should have been unbearable. Instead, Danny found himself settling in. Then he met the other males. They were kept in a separate wing of the estate, visiting from allied clans for some kind of gathering. Danny was brought to meet them as a courtesy, and he knew immediately that something was very wrong. They were soft, pale. They moved like frightened animals, never making eye contact, never speaking above a whisper. Their wives hovered around them like guards around prisoners. "You are the human," one of them said. He was small even by human standards, with delicate features and trembling hands. "They say you fixed a machine." "Yes." The male looked at Danny like he had grown a second head. "With your hands? Were you not terrified? It was just a food synthesizer. But you could have been hurt, shocked, burned." The male shuddered. "I could never be so brave." Danny looked at these males, truly looked, and understood what Corvani culture had done to them. They had been protected so completely that they had become helpless, treasured so thoroughly that they had lost all ability to exist on their own. He refused to become that. The political reception came 3 days later. Danny was dressed in fine clothes and paraded through a ballroom full of powerful females. He stood between his wives and smiled politely while strangers commented on his bone density and survival potential. Then Vera Tosh approached. She was enormous even by Corvani standards, with scars covering her arms and contempt covering her face. She looked Danny up and down like he was something stuck to her shoe. "This is the human," she said. "The one the Vaughn sisters claim is worthy of their clan." Syrah's spine went rigid. "Our husband is not your concern. He should be properly evaluated, redistributed to a clan that can handle such an unusual specimen." Vera smiled coldly. "The Vaughn clan has always been soft. A human male would be better served by stronger hands." Danny felt his temper rising. They were talking about him like he was not standing right there, like he was furniture to be moved around. "I am not being redistributed," he said. Vera looked at him with surprise. Males did not speak at these gatherings. Males did not have opinions worth hearing. "The property does not get a vote," she said dismissively. Something snapped inside Danny. "I'm not property," he said. His voice carried across the silent ballroom. "I'm not Corvani. I'm human. And where I come from, I speak for myself." Vera laughed. "What will you do, little creature?" Cry. Danny had learned to fight in Nevada. Bar fights mostly, defending himself from drunk idiots who thought a mechanic was an easy target. He had never won by being stronger. He had won by being faster and meaner than anyone expected. Corvani had very fragile facial bones. He broke Vera's nose with one punch. The crack echoed through the ballroom. Vera stumbled backward, blood streaming down her face, too shocked to react. Danny stood over her with his fist still raised. "Anyone else want to call me property?" he asked. Dead silence. Syrah grabbed him and pulled him behind her. Brix was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Nyla was staring at Danny with something that looked like religious awe. Guards surrounded them. Danny was seized and dragged away while his wife shouted protests. The last thing he saw before they took him was Vera's face, twisted with rage and humiliation. He had just made a powerful enemy, but he had also made a point. He was not a soft, helpless creature to be traded and controlled. He was human. He came from a death world, and he would not be dismissed. The holding cell was cold and dark. Danny sat in the corner and waited for whatever came next. He did not regret it. Not for 1 second. The tribunal chamber was built for intimidation, and it worked. Danny stood in the center of a massive room, surrounded by towering pillars and stern-faced judges who looked at him like he was a dangerous animal. His wrists were bound with soft restraints because the Corvani could not bring themselves to use anything harsh on a male, even a violent one. Syrah was arguing his case. She had been arguing for hours. "Human males are physiologically different," she said for the 20th time. "He cannot be held to Corvani behavioral standards." The head judge, an ancient female with white hair and cold eyes, shook her head. A male is a male. The law is clear. Aggressive behavior must be corrected. Danny knew what correction meant. Nyla had explained it through the bars of his cell. Reconditioning. Brain modification to remove aggressive impulses. They would reach inside his head and cut out the parts that made him fight, that he would rather die. I request permission to speak, Danny said. The chamber went silent. Males did not speak at tribunals. Males did not have the right. The head judge studied him with curiosity. This is highly irregular. I'm a highly irregular male. She considered this for a long moment. Then she nodded. Speak, human. We are curious about your kind. Danny stepped forward as far as his restraints allowed. His three wives watched from the gallery. Syrah stone-faced, Nyla tearful, Bricks coiled like a spring ready to explode. I did not ask for any of this, Danny began. I did not ask to be entered in your lottery. I did not ask to buy a ship that came with 3 wives attached. I did not ask to be brought to your world and registered as property. The judges shifted uncomfortably. But I am here, and in 6 weeks, I have learned something important about the 3 women who claimed me. Danny looked up at the gallery. They crossed the galaxy for me. They waited 15 years for someone to fill the emptiness in their lives. They killed 17 ships worth of pirates because those pirates threatened to take me away. His voice strengthened. I did not want to be a husband. I did not want any of this. But they fought for me. They protected me. They looked at a broken mechanic from a death world and saw something worth treasuring. Danny turned back to the judges. You want to know what humans are? We are not precious. We are not fragile. We're the species that crawled out of a planet that tried to kill us every single day, and we survived. We adapt. We endure. We protect what we love. He took a breath. And I love them. The words hung in the air. Danny had not planned to say them. He had not even known they were true until they left his mouth. But they were true. Somehow, impossibly, they were true. I punched that woman because she called me property, Danny continued. Because she wanted to take me away from my wives. I'm not sorry. I will never be sorry. Because that is what humans do. We fight for our families. Silence filled the chamber. Then Bricks started laughing. It was loud and wild and completely inappropriate for a tribunal. Nyla was crying openly, her bioluminescent freckles blazing. Syrah's stone face had cracked, and something raw and vulnerable showed through. The head judge leaned back in her seat. She looked at Danny like she was seeing something new, something she had never encountered in her centuries of life. We have never had a human before us, she said slowly. We have no precedent for this situation. Then create one, Danny said. I am not Corvani. Your rules should not apply to me. The judges conferred in whispers. Danny waited, heart pounding. His entire future hung on the decision of strangers who saw him as property. Finally, the head judge raised her hand. The tribunal rules as follows, she announced. The human known as Danny Reeves is classified as a non-standard spouse. He is exempt from male behavioral codes. His actions at the reception, while unusual, do not warrant reconditioning. She paused. This precedent will apply to all non-Corvani males going forward. Danny's knees went weak with relief. The guards released his restraints. Before he could take a step, Syrah was there, lifting him into her 4 arms and holding him against her chest like he was something infinitely precious. You foolish, brave, impossible creature, she murmured against his hair. Do you know what you just did? I fought for you, Danny said. Like you fought for me. 6 months later, Danny had his own workshop on the Vaughn estate. He was teaching other non-standard males, aliens from death worlds like Earth, how to fix machines and defend themselves. His 3 wives still would not let him climb ladders without supervision, but they had stopped carrying him everywhere. Mostly, Syrah still picked him up when she was worried. Which was always, Danny complained about it constantly. He had never been happier. So, Bricks said one evening, watching Danny argue with a broken engine, think he is ready for children? Nyla and Syrah exchanged glances. Danny looked up, caught their expressions, and bolted for the door. 4 arms, long legs, and a pilot's reflexes cornered him in seconds. We should discuss family planning, Syrah said calmly, blocking the only exit. Danny sighed. I'm going to need a bigger workshop. His wives laughed. And despite everything, despite the insanity and the culture shock and the complete destruction of his former life. Danny laughed too. He was home.